Coach talked about the physicality you guys played with in practice this week and how stunned he was that you could be capable of a performance like this. Is that a shared feeling with him that this is kind of like blindsided you how you played tonight?
Yeah, most definitely blindsided. We practiced real hard this week. Even having the quarterbacks live on one of the days of practice. Coach told us, Coach told me in order for us to win at practice, he wanted me to throw 60% every day. Me throw better than 60% every day, and that's what I did. And so I feel like I did have a great week of practice. The O-line had a great week of practice. Receivers did pretty well, and even on the defensive side, it was all there this week at practice. But today was most definitely blindsided.
Did it feel to you like that was the most pressure you've seen this year?
Man, most definitely. I feel like, I watched over 10 hours of film, and a lot of them pressures that came up today was nowhere to be found on tape. So I feel like today they schemed up the pressure just for us, for this game, and no other team might see that they played farther than us. But I feel like it happened because of the great O-line that we've been having before this game. They're not saying they're not great now, but it's still just the great protection that the O-line been giving us. They had to find ways to throw us off and they moving points around, and they just did great with the pressure that they were sending. It felt like they were sending one more than we can handle every play. But I went 9 for 22, and I'm sure almost all of the incompletions were throwaways. So, but it was just they most definitely did a great job at scheming up the pressure that they were able to send at us today, and it was very blindsided. We just can't quit. I feel like this is a team that won't quit, and we're just gonna keep on going hard as we can go and just being us, man. We just gotta go out there and have fun with the game, go out there and execute the game plan, just keep on practicing hard and just go out there and play football. That's what we gotta do, and I feel like we're capable of finishing this season off strong.
Welcome into a new BuffStampede Radio, coming to you a day later than normal. Usually we come to you on Sunday, but I was traveling back from Salt Lake City yesterday, and William, I'm glad that I had a little bit of time to try to kind of digest it. I feel like I'm still kind of digesting what took place at Rice-Eccles Stadium on Saturday evening. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I don't know. I really want to watch it again and dive too much into it, but I think that clip with Caden Salter right there really just gets to the point of the matter is, and if you don't want to hear about bad coaching, tune out. Don't give a damn. I'm just here to tell you what I think. But when he said, that he had watched all those hours of film and he never saw the pressures from Utah that they showed against us Saturday night in previous games, that's because they got good coaches and we got garbage. Sorry, man, because their coaches watch our film and they come up with something to beat what we do. Our damn coaches, I'm surprised they can find a bathroom. Pat Shurmur should never be around a damn football field again in his life. We don't ever come up with anything that exploits what other teams do. Coach Prime is going to go down because of the same damn reason as Mike McIntyre, man, because he's got more loyalty to his damn friends than he has to the program or to the players that he brought in to coach. So he's got more loyalty to these clown coaches who can't coach worth the damn, and he needs to just clean house and get a whole new thing. That offensive staff is clueless. So I don't know. This thing I think just got out of hand and got away from him, and that happens. That happens sometimes. Utah doesn't have better talent than us, and anybody who says so is an idiot. But they were better prepared than us. Look at some of the plays. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna say this, and I hope you're listening, Coach Prime, because I'm gonna say it just blunt, man. They have an identity and we don't. And if you don't understand it, man, you shouldn't be coaching. They know who they are, man. That's why we get beat by freshman quarterbacks every single time. And people say, hey, put in Juju Lewis. He ain't going to do shit, man, because the program, the plan sucks. We're not going to win with a freshman quarterback the way other teams do, because other teams have a plan and a program and they know what they're doing and they teach their players what to do. We show up every damn week drawing stuff out of a hat, So I'm not one of those inside group of dudes putting out propaganda. You know, you want to listen to that kind of junk. I'm not inside the curtain, so you know, I'm not going to sit here and spout the party line. But the bottom line is, we got too many coaches on the staff don't know what the hell they're doing. This game just got away, got off the rails, and just went bad. But you know, that, like, I don't know. There's so many things to talk about. You know, I don't know. I got so many things I can't even start what to think. You know, 10 minutes into the game, you know, we've given up a long touchdown, and I'll tell you about that one. We were in a 4-man front on that. We gave it, and 10 minutes in, we got a long touchdown. We've had a fumble on our first play and lost 10 yards. We had a bad sack because of blown coverage, blown protection. We have, during this game, a block punt, shank punt, just about everything you can do. You won't win a game when you get a punt blocked, and that's statistically proven over the years. But I don't know. Every phase of the game was no damn good, and 2 weeks to be ready, and we look like we hadn't been in practice for 2 weeks. It's just like the bowl game last year. We don't show up prepared, professional, and ready to go. After
one thing that needs to change, and because we saw this with the Alamo Bowl last year, is that coaches, players need to stay on campus and look at those breaks as an opportunity to get better, not to. And certainly, you're going to need a mental recharge. I don't know if that's like a team trip to Topgolf or what that looks like, but there is this feeling that you're treating these guys like they're professionals, but they're not professionals.
Well, yeah, and that you know, I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish.
Well, you know, they want them to. They're trying to train them to be professionals, but you have to train them to be professionals, and that's why you said clean house. There are good coaches on this staff. You don't need to wipe out this entire thing. But to your initial point about Pat Shurmur, it is clear at this point that he cannot be the offensive coordinator of this program going forward. If it was my call, I'd put Brett Bartoloni in charge of that, just to get a different voice in there. And I've been impressed with him as a coach during his time at Colorado. And not to say that's going to fix everything or fix most things, but it just, William, right now, Colorado ranks 15th out of 16 Big 12 programs in total offense. They rank 15th out of 16 Big 12 programs in total defense. The only program they rank ahead of in those categories is Oklahoma State, which fired their head coach 4 games in. So this is clearly not working. Now, Livingston, I have a little bit more hope, and you kind of have to have that because of the contract he has right now, and based off what he did last year. But yeah, I agree with you, and we're kind of all over the place early in this. But it's more big picture we're going to be talking about on the show, because there's no way I was going to rewatch that game. I mean, I watched enough replays and saw it live that I wasn't going to stomach that one again.
Yeah, and I lost the point I was trying to hold on to, but
sorry,
you know, and that's all right. No, you know, when I say clean house, I don't mean burn the house down. I mean, there are good coaches on this staff, but you clean the house, you get rid of the stuff that you don't need, right? And at this point, his loyalty to some of these guys at some critical positions is just killing him, you know. And I don't know. There's a whole lot of things, you know. I don't know. I got.
We could go back down the OC path here with Coach Prime, and we were all excited about Sean Lewis now, and he's doing well at San Diego State. He's a good football coach, but he was not the right OC for Shedeur Sanders, and he's probably not the right head coach / OC, because I would imagine he's still calling plays there at San Diego State. That's kind of his forte. With that up-tempo style, if you're recruiting primarily out of the portal, it's going to be tough to have that up-tempo system really mesh well, because that was part of the issue with Shedeur, is like he was just not on the same page with other guys because they were going too fast. They weren't getting things right. So that was a bad fit. Now, insert Pat Shurmur, better fit, not the best fit. They could have done better there. And again, you go back to last year, you know, they were obviously more successful offensively than they have been this season. But when you had Shedeur and 4 NFL receivers, I think most quality OCs would have gotten more out of last year's group offensively. To be honest with you, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. Of it's not the only issue in this program. I would go 1B of leadership and the lack thereof. And you've got Omari Miller and Joseph Williams that can't make it back from the bye week on time again. You probably just need to avoid that from potentially being an issue going forward and keep these kids on campus.
Well, I think you reminded me of what I was thinking of, and that is you were talking about that they want to try to train these kids as professional, like NFL players, and the biggest problem I think with Coach Prime and his staff and this team is that he thinks he's coaching in the damn NFL, and he's bringing in coaches. He's got too many coaches that aren't familiar with college football, and I think people probably say, well, what's the difference? College football, NFL, whatever. It's a big damn difference, and it makes a lot of difference. And so, both coordinators are not college guys, and you want to teach guys to be in the NFL, but they're not there yet. They're still not. They're still, you come into college football from high school, you don't know the game, okay? Maybe a handful of guys played at a place like IMG where they really got taught well, or Cherry Creek maybe, but most of these guys come off of teams where they weren't taught the damn game. They don't know the fundamentals, and you have to start at that level and teach them from the ground up, And so if you have a foundation and you have an identity and you have a program, that's what you do. But you bring in a bunch of NFL guys, and I've seen this many times. I had one in high school, where they're like, well, you just do this. Well, I can't do that. I'm not able to do that. I don't have your talent, your ability. So if you can't translate what you're able to do down to the players and teach them the fundamentals, every step, every hand placement, everything, in a way that they learn it, that's on you, man. There is nothing wrong with the talent on this team. It's the coaching that's no good. So I don't know what the story. And I think again that the professional thing goes back to the discipline issues too. Like you were saying, letting them go off campus, you're treating them like they're adults. They're not adults yet, man. Even if they're 21, 22, they haven't had that sort of NFL freedom where it's like, you show up, you don't get paid, So there has to be more accountability like that. And you have to teach young people. That's the whole point of it. You have to teach young people to have that kind of accountability and whatever. So whether it's coming back late off the field, we've done really well with off the field stuff. They're not getting in trouble. They're getting good grades and all that. But the fundamentals of football are just not there. I don't think this staff understands like some of the basic things about football, which is mind blowing to me. But I know people, you see this all the time, like, well, they've been doing this a long time, so they know what they're doing. Man, every profession on the planet got people who've been doing it a long time that don't know what they're doing, but they know the right people, right? You piss off the wrong people, you get booted. You kiss ass to the right people and you stay in. That's the way the world works. But great places like Utah, Whittingham's got a plan, and he fills his coaching staff with guys who understand his plan and do what he wants them to do, and so they win every year. They had one bad year last year, and then they're back this year. So I don't know, a lot of the things that happened in this game were just were just bad coaching. I don't know, like that first long quarterback run. Let me see what I got. We're in a 4-3, we're in a, and we got all the rest of the DBs are up close, but our defensive end to the play side comes crashing down on the fake dive, and there's nobody got contained. Now, I've been in football since 1978, man, and the first thing you teach every single year is somebody has contained, and that person has to know who they are, and they have to have contained. Nobody had it on that play. That is George Hilo, and that is Robert Livingston. I know all the freaking experts are going to say, well, they can't go out there and play it for the players. Bullshit. They can't go out on the field, but you teach your guys to know what the hell they're doing. All that had to do to stop that play was for the defensive end to stay home and let the other players do their damn job. And the players on that defense didn't know their jobs on that play, and so they got scorched. And then I think, the first play from scrimmage for us is just a straight handoff, and we dropped the ball. at some point, people can say it's players got to make the plays, but they also got to be coached right and have the fundamentals right. So when you keep making the same dumb mistakes, that ultimately is the coaches. So I don't know what to say, man.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like in why Colorado's 3-5 start is unacceptable, and why I would say what happened out at Salt Lake City is the worst loss of the Coach Prime era, even more so than blowing a 29-point lead at home against Stanford, is because you're year three. We expected this to be a retooling versus a total rebuild, and they're venturing into more of a rebuild territory than we expected. And I was thinking about this on the flight back yesterday of like, did we overestimate the guys that came in through the portal from a talent standpoint? And I really don't think we did, because so many of those guys had established themselves at other programs or had done some, good things once they got into Colorado's program. But just the preparation leading up to games has not been there. The leadership has not been there. I don't know how much of that falls on NIL and certain guys cashing checks and just really kind of checking out and not being willing to go the extra mile. But I do think there is the talent of this program to be like we expected, an 8-9 win football team. But I didn't anticipate the leadership lacking as much as it has to this point.
Well, I think, it's not just what the guys have done at previous stops. In every game this year, again, except Houston, we've had, times, in fact, entire quarters and sometimes entire halves where we dominated the other team against every team we've played this year except Houston. And, 2 weeks ago, we came out and beat a ranked team in Iowa State. And we did it by really dominating in the second half, And if you've got the players who can dominate another team for a quarter or for a half or whatever, but they don't do it for the whole game, they're not coached well, man. They got the talent because you can see it when they do it. If you didn't have the talent, you couldn't dominate it all ever. So the problem is they can't keep it together for any length of time. And I really think that the Utah game, the wheels came off early, and they all didn't have faith that they could still be doing it. I've said a lot of times that football is a game of faith, and if you believe you'll do it, you'll do it, and if you don't, you don't. I don't think they did. So
yeah,
I think the talent is there. Anybody who can't see that the talent is there is silly. I'll give you another example like that. That very first sack, there was a miscommunication. Either Down Hayden or Jordan Seaton did not have responsibility for the backside. One of those two guys has to have it. Okay. And they got to make it, it's got to be built into the game plan. And you make a call, somebody makes a call, they're overloaded to the left anyway. They had 4 guys to the left, 3 guys to the right. They brought 6. Our entire offensive line and a running back all go right, and 2 guys come off the left side untouched. That's not a talent issue, man. That's not a talent issue. That's a screwed up protection, and that's either on Jordan Seaton or it's on Down Hayden, or it's on the scheme. So this is not a talent issue. 7 sacks, most of them weren't about talent issues. It's about they're bringing blitzes and such, and our guys don't recognize how to pick them up. Now that's a coach. 100%. If I'm coaching offensive line and I don't have you prepared to pick up blitzes either by watching the film and seeing it or by having rules for situations, that's me, man. That ain't the players. So people can blame the players all they want. It ain't the truth.
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer is at this point. I think up to this point, the 3 offensive line coaches have done fine, but at some point, Coach Prime is going to have to decide to go out and find guys who have real experience coaching at this level of college football and stop experimenting with new guys at everything or his friends.
I want to dive into a topic that is going to be discussed a lot here this week of, do you start to play for the future? Do you go to Julian Lewis? But we're going to get into a couple of our ad reads here. Taco Bell, our great sponsor. And William, we got to share our experience from the Hungry Toad. So let's get into our sponsors here, and then we'll come on the other side and try to tackle that quarterback topic with the Colorado Buffaloes. The Taco Bell's decade menu is back, and this time it's focused on that crazy time period that we called Y2K. If you or a loved one experienced emotional distress due to slow internet 25 years ago, Taco Bell believes you're entitled to a delicious escape. With Taco Bell's decades Y2K menu, you get 5 faves like the cool ranch Doritos Locos Taco, caramel apple empanada, chili cheese burrito, 7-layer burrito, or double-decker taco, all for $3 or less. You already suffered dial-up. Don't wait any longer. Experience Taco Bell's Decades Y2K menu now. Also, don't forget to add on a $7 Buffs box with 4 Taco Bell classics and a collectible CU Player Cup featuring Jordan Seaton, Juju Lewis, Draylon Miller, or Quentin Gibson. And we want to shout out Taco Bell because every time CU scores a touchdown this year, Taco Bell will help support CU athletics with a $1,000 donation to the Golden Buffaloes Scholarship Fund. Live Moss at Taco Bell. Is your business growing but not quite ready for a full-time CFO? Macaulay Capital offers fractional CFO services for companies doing more than $3 million in annual revenue. You get expert financial leadership without the full cost. Learn more about how you can improve your business's profitability and cash management at MacaulayCapital.com. If you know Boulder, you know the Hungry Toad. We've been serving this town since 1991, long before the lines on Pearl Street. Just north of campus, we're your local British pub with proper fish and chips, quality burgers, a scratch kitchen, real English cask ale, and no tourist fluff. We support CU football, women's soccer, and the loyal fans who keep it local. The Hungry Toad, Boulder born, Buffs proud. All right, back in the mix. Chad has been very active today. Good discussion going on there. And we've got quite a few people tuning in. And I wasn't sure when we decided to go live mid-morning how many folks would be able to tune in. So I appreciate everybody for doing that. But back to the Hungry Toad. We went out there. We met up last Wednesday. And we got some good food there, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. It's always good food there and always good service. And it's just a great place. I always end up with that burger because it's so damn good.
I took a picture of you too, and I forgot to load it. So we'll get that up next week when we talk about the Hungry Toad.
Yeah.
But yeah, we climbed up to the top of a parking garage, did a Buff Stampede film room on Gavin Mueller, who, man, you still got to hold out some hope, right? I mean, it's going to be just crazy with recruiting. We're going to talk a little bit later about Brian Kelly at LSU. I mean, you've got so many coaching openings. Recruiting is just going to be kind of nuts leading up to that signing period again this year.
Yeah, and there's a whole topic to be talked about there. You know, what do you do with that? I think that their approach to recruiting needs to change a little bit too, but that being said, we got a lot of young talent on this team, and you got to recruit the players still on your team too, so keep them around. Yeah, well, you know, it was always fun to get up to the Hungry Toad and get something to eat there. I think I took home, I ordered a mac and cheese. I couldn't eat it because the burger and everything else was so big, you know, and so I took that home and had that the next day.
Yeah, I ordered a couple things too and brought home shepherd's pie, and my wife got like 2 meals out of it. So thank you, Hanson, and your staff. They always do a good job taking care of us down there. And if you need a spot that's just a little off Pearl Street, a little away from the rush on game day, before or after the game, definitely recommend that. 5 p.m. start this week. You can go in there maybe for a late lunch and support somebody that's been a supporter of this podcast as well as the CU community. Out of my mind on the chat said, I think Salter isn't the issue. It's the coaching not putting him in the right position based on his skills. The old adage, don't fit a square peg into a circle. It's clear that Shermer and Salter just are not a good marriage in terms of just meshing with their styles.
Well, I think Pat Shermer and the sidelines of any coaching staff and any player on the planet is a bad mix because the guy's not a good coach.
Okay.
And so, you know, people saying, let's go with the future and play Juju, man. What do you just want to get the kid killed? You want to wreck the guy now? there's nobody coaching these quarterbacks. I don't know what the hell Shermer is doing. His background is as an offensive line coach. Get somebody in here who's actually coaching quarterbacks and get these guys developed. I don't see that there's any, Ryan Staub again showed that, he can handle things when the wheels come off to get some success, but I don't see what difference it makes to put Juju in there with this same play calling and preparation. At the end of the day, I think we can still get to bowl eligibility with some of the teams we got left coming up. And I think I have to keep repeating too that you can't ever draw larger conclusions from one game in this sport, because you can see a team get beat 56-7 and come back and win the next week. We've all seen it many times. Sometimes you just have that day. I've been on the wrong side of some of those days in coaching, and you try to turn it around and you don't. I think they obviously led off in the second half, and we did a little better. But this game in and of itself does not doom the rest of this season. It all depends on what the players and coaches do about it. Now if they all say, well, screw it, and give up, then that's that. But if they fight to come back and do better, I have no hope whatsoever that Shermer is going to make changes and do anything different, because the damn guy has been there. This is his third year. He hasn't changed anything. So from that standpoint, I don't see the point of putting Juju out there. We're already wrecking it for Salter.
But so the next two games, and I know this sounds crazy based on what we saw just less than 2 days ago, the next two games are very winnable.
Well, that's not crazy at all. That's what I just said.
But based on like what we saw, it's hard to.
But that's what I'm saying. But
you're right. Things snowball in a football game.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you want to put it on? 2 weeks ago, we beat a ranked team.
Right.
I don't know. So, which week do you want to take? Which week do you want to say is the one that demonstrates what this team is? Because this team, it can be either one of those.
Oh, the next 2 weeks are for sure. Well, this Saturday, if they come out and lay an egg, then they've rolled over.
Yeah. But if they come out and play like they did the second half of the Iowa State game, they'll win both of those games.
Right.
And
in which case you'd want to still be playing for bowl eligibility.
Right.
That is still an important thing. I know it's hard to find a path there right now, but Arizona State is going to be a tough team to play. That's going to be a winnable home game. Going to Kansas State, they're playing better football right now. It could be miserable out there. It's going to be a sellout crowd. That's not going to be as easy an environment as what it looked like Kansas State was going to be as an opponent a few weeks ago. It's going to be a pretty tough environment, but you can definitely win that football game. So it's funny, William, before we hit record, I was gifted a Julian Lewis t-shirt by Taco Bell. I was like, maybe I should support our sponsor, wear that. And I'm like, that's going to send the wrong message. But when I wear that t-shirt, and that's going to be based on the next 2 weeks, because he's only played in one game. So if bowl eligibility is not in front of you and you've got 3 games left, you got to start to play for the future at that point. That's when I feel like you start to play for the future.
And I think you look at Kansas State's schedule, and they're very likely to, we are very likely to have both teams coming in at 5-5, looking for that last win, right? Because their next game is against Texas Tech. You kind of figure they're going to lose that one. They'll beat Oklahoma State, and then they play Utah. Maybe they lose, then they got to play them in Utah. So it's very likely they could lose those 2 games, win one, and be at 5-6 at that point or something, and so both teams being at 5-6 playing for that bowl game, and then they get the home field advantage. But we could only hope that would be fun to have something to play for going out to Manhattan. Yeah. So I think it's reasonable to think that it's not a far-fetched proposition, quite frankly, to me.
Yeah. We got a super chat from Big Mike. Always appreciate you, Big Mike, for tuning in. He said, CU loss was strictly coaching. The O-line had no clue. The wide receivers couldn't separate. No adjustments were made. the defense was way out of alignment.
Let me address two of those things because
Sure.
I saw the same things. First of all, like I don't know what Phillips is doing with the wide receivers, but nobody's coaching these guys this year. I don't know what the hell they're doing. They can't get separation. They don't block. And that's another place where you got Coach Prime giving his friend a job who's not getting the job done. But then what Big Mike said about alignment, one of the first plays that the Utah ran, they had, so I talked about contain earlier, and without a board, it's hard to explain this, but we lined up and they had the outside angle on our edge to their right hand side. So they had a wing back and then they had a wide receiver in close. And so our outside guy on the line was inside of those guys. So they both had easy blocks to the inside. We gave up the edge on that play by formation. You are not going to get the edge when they've got the outside guys on the line of scrimmage. So I don't know what the hell Livingston was thinking on that formation, but that was not a failure of the players. That was just a failure of the formation. So like Big Mike said, that's a situation of being in the wrong position. I don't know if it was by mistake or by play calling. It's hard for me to believe that a defensive coordinator would set up a defense like that and not have the outside guy step, a yard to his left and be on the outside. But I don't know, so that I think Big Mike's right on the money that a lot of our problems with the edge and with the quarterback were by alignment as much as by play call.
Cam S asked, who wants to see a team barely get 6 wins in a bowl game where the best players won't even play? I'm going to buck back on this one because it would be really big, I think, for the perspective of people out there thinking about possibly transferring or committing or signing with Colorado for this program the year after Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter leave the program to get to a bowl game. It matters. It does. And it's tough not to get emotional after 53-7, but there is – that is still there. It's fleeting. It's fleeting though. Like that carrot can't be out there much longer.
Yeah, I mean, they have to play well this week and the next 2 weeks, but a short of national championships and playoffs and conference championships, what you play for in college is bowl eligibility. Now, I don't. Some people say, well, that's a loser. I don't care. I don't care what you call it, but that's the reality of college football. You're playing for bowl eligibility, right? And if you get bowl eligibility, then you could say, hey, you know what? We even after losing a Heisman winner and wide receivers and quarterback to the NFL, we still maintain bowl eligibility. And so we got something here, and you can come and make a difference. Now, he's going to have to make a lot of changes in his coaching staff, but getting to that bowl eligibility, maybe winning the bowl, I don't know, is critical. And if you're a fan of a team, you want to see them play another game. And 6-6 isn't what we hope for, but it's a hell of a lot better than 5-7.
Then you get guys like London Merritt and Alex McPherson get up to 15 bowl practices.
Right.
To develop for next year.
And ultimately, one of the things that's a huge advantage for teams that go to bowls every year is those extra practices you just mentioned. Because that's an extra spring ball, man. So a guy's been in a program for 4 years, going to a bowl every year. He's got that extra 15 practices every year, and it is huge in the development of players. So I think it's critically important. I think a 6-6 win. I don't. Who knows what happens in the bowl. 6-6, I think we can at least say, we did okay given everything we lost. It would not be acceptable at all, but it's a lot better than the alternative.
Another super chat from Big Mike. Phillips made a disheartening statement in a well-off video earlier this year. He said his coach, I remember this statement where he said his job is not to coach receivers how to block, and he was serious.
Let me tell you a story about that, okay? And as an old guy, I like to tell war stories. But I was working on the Wake Forest staff on the defensive side, and I like to soak in whatever I can get from other coaches. So I was talking to one of their offensive line coaches one day, and I said, how do you go about teaching players stance, right? Which is a basic thing you got to teach in high school. And he kind of looked at me funny. He said, well, Bill, guys know how to get in a stance by the time they get here, I don't have to teach them that. I mean, every night, maybe I get tweak it a little bit here and there, but whatever. I don't have to teach stance. So, a lot of times at college, the college coaches think, well, I don't have to teach these fundamentals. Well, you do, man. I mean, if they're not doing it, and certainly after this many games this season, we can clearly see these guys are not blocking well. That's your job. I mean, I don't know, if you made that statement when I was a head coach, I'd have you in the office the next day saying, your job's on the line. You better start teaching blocking. You better start it now, because it certainly sure as hell is his job. And if he doesn't understand it, he doesn't belong here.
We're going to go another 6 or 7 minutes. We're going to lead up to the morning run for the folks that check in to Unk and Dukes and Chico. They do a great job. I don't want to step on their time window here because I'm sure they're going to have some thoughts on what happened out in Salt Lake City. Did you see Brian Kelly is going to be owed $54 million, William?
Well, I guess it's not. I guess sports is not the only venue where this happens, but it's amazing that you can get paid so much money to suck at your job, and he'll get hired somewhere else. He'll get hired somewhere else, I mean, like, and I
nobody likes that guy at this point, though. I think he might be kind of at the end of that rope.
But you also, I'll turn this in a different direction. It'll piss a few people off, which is I'm good at, but. You have to be, you can understand if you're a young black coach and you can't get an opportunity at a real school, and these same clowns get the same opportunities time after time when they've proven they can't do it. So I don't really understand, it goes back to what I said at the start with Coach Prime. He's got too many friends on the staff, and he's going by, who they know rather than what they know. So, I think if you really want to have a good program and keep going, you get a coach, and he's got to hire really good assistants and expect them to do their job. So I don't know. It's crazy. There's going to be a lot of guys making a lot of money for doing nothing. I don't quite frankly know why you go and seek another job after that.
I should have just followed the Carl Durrell path in life, right?
I swear
he's out there in Arizona golfing every day, I'm sure. And
54 million, man, I'll never be heard from again. I'll be like, which finger's going to pop up? I'll be like, goodbye, everybody, and I won't be heard from. And I'm gonna go around with a wheelbarrow full of money. I'm gonna say, let's see here's 50,000 for you, and here's 50,000 for you. Oh no, you don't get a dime. Beat it.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. And I mean, you look at it, James Franklin is almost owed as much. That's over $100 million for two guys to not coach football.
Yeah.
And you still got to come up with at least 25 just to have the standard for NIL now. And then you got to find these other back channels to semi-cheat or not cheat, however these programs are deciding to do that side of NIL now. I mean, it's just, it sucks, man. Like, and I know we're a little bit older, so sometimes you kind of look back to like the way it used to be, and not that it was ever perfect. Like, I like the college football playoff. I think they need to stop expanding it because you like the integrity of just the regular season mattering so much. But it's tough to stomach some of this stuff sometimes as this sport continues to evolve.
Well, and you have to have a whole different view of it. I mean, like, it used to be fun to me to watch guys through 4 and 5 years and see how they developed and get to know them a little bit. And you have to be okay with just cheering for whoever's got the name on the front of the jersey, and the experience at Folsom Field and what have you. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. I think, to change gears a little bit, I see some people saying, well, obviously the building a team through large amounts of transfers doesn't work. Texas Tech, anyone? I mean, it certainly works, and it worked for us last year. We got nine wins, but you have to have the coaching there too, and they have to be a group of guys that fit together and play well together. So the game is too complicated to say any one thing works or doesn't work. You can do this a variety of different ways, but certainly, being able to bring in those great classes of talent up and down the list is going to help you out. I mean, we've had some bad luck with some injuries and whatever, but I think most of the problem this year is about the coaching.
Yeah. And I know that we'll finish on this topic real quick here, William. You kind of alluded to Coach Prime being somebody that can't let some of his friends go. Now, Gary Harrell was his assistant head coach at Jackson State. And he got let go after 2 years of them really struggling to run the football and not feeling like there was enough development out of that position. We've seen him make tough decisions before.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is going to look like. Everybody just wants it like now. That's 2025, and I get it. There's going to be changes.
Yeah.
You can tell by the way that Coach Prime, I mean, even when he doesn't say something, he kind of says something in those press conferences, just with kind of the way he reacts to questions. And now we've been around him for almost 3 years. Somebody put in the chat that he was pissed, and it's true. Like there is going to be changes. It just is, when do they come? How many are there? So I think that part of it, I would say, still more optimistic about Coach Prime than some of the fans that are kind of reacting based on one final score, which was really, really ugly.
Yeah, and I don't think somebody's on there saying get Matt McChesney. That guy doesn't know how to coach worth a damn, and it's not about toughness. It was about assignments on the offensive line. Most people talk about the offensive line, don't know what they're talking about. It's not about whether they're tough or not. It's about missing assignments, and it's about understanding how to pick up a blitz. And McChesney ain't going to change that. So that's just silly talk. But
the O-line coaching group was fine until last week, and
right.
That was a major issue, like you said. Like to not be prepared in that situation is borderline inexcusable. But the larger body of work from that group this season's been pretty solid.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to your offensive coordinator. Every offense I've ever coached offensive line for, we have meetings during the week and talked about, here's what we're expecting, here's what I want you to do. So it kind of, and I always, had my marching orders from the offensive coordinator. Here's what we're going to try to do this week. Here's what I want you to do. Now sometimes you go into a game and they do a bunch of different stuff. Now you're supposed to have rules that account for those kinds of things. Sometimes it goes haywire and it doesn't work. So we had one bad week. Otherwise, this offensive line has been pretty good, and they've been pretty physical and pretty solid. But I'm sorry, what were you saying before?
Just talking about, I think Coach Prime is going to make some tough decisions.
Okay, yeah. So one of the things that strikes me about Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, is that he's a very smart person, and he's very competitive, and he wants to win, and he's not going to sit easy with this kind of a beat down, and he wants to be great, and he's willing to do the tough things, and he learns. He learns from his mistakes and from his losses and whatever. And so I have great confidence in Coach Prime turning this around. Maybe not this year, because we sort of have what we have, but making changes moving forward. And I don't know. I think that includes recruiting and everything else. But there's a lot of good young talent on this team, and there's a lot of good guys on our commit list, and that we're still chasing. So I have confidence in Coach Prime getting the right guys in there, but he's got to let go of some of these people, and he's got to, I don't know it's too early to say what's the story with Livingston and what to do with him. But that offensive staff, I'd keep the 3 offensive line coaches, I guess, but you got to get a new coordinator and then see who he wants, And you got to get an offensive coordinator that's done it well at this level of football, who really understands what they're seeing.
It was your call with Bartoloni, get an opportunity here.
Yeah, for the rest of let it be a little bit of an audition to see what he can do. Although he does, he was OC for him, I think, at Jackson State, wasn't he? So
that's correct. Yes.
Trying to see what he's done. Let's see what he can do at this level, and give him an opportunity. It's not a fair test really, because you're stuck with the other dude's offense, but it's an opportunity to do something and get freaking Shermer the hell out of there. He's not coaching the quarterbacks worth a damn. I don't know who is, or if they get somebody in there, or what's his name is actually there doing anything or not. But yeah, I think you just do it. You do it today and get moving forward.
Well, we didn't have much of a plan for this podcast, William. We were kind of all over the place, but I think over the course of the last 45 minutes, we've at least started to digest this a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know, put some things out there to for people to think about, I guess, and got some good feedback from other people in here, and I think that there's not a lot to be said about a game like that. It's just ugly.
We were not going to rewatch that one because there wasn't a lot to be gained. Again, I kind of got to that point after the second play of the game. I was like, this doesn't feel right. Something's off here, and part of that is PTSD from covering games at Rice-Eccles Stadium over the years, right? Over the years, right? But I had my tablet out, so I'm watching every replay. So I'm watching the live play, then the replay, just because I was like, I don't want to have to go back home after getting 2 hours of sleep, and then immediately have to watch this again. So it feels good to kind of get to the point of flushing this one.
Yeah, and there's no way to put a positive spin on this, or there's no silver lining or anything.
There's no reason to even try that.
Yeah, it's just
two penalties. That was, as Coach Prime said, the only thing that he was proud of on Saturday night at Rice-Eccles.
Yeah, but a block punt and a shank punt. Every team I was ever on, I coached punt coverage and kickoff coverage, and I never gave up a long return, and I never had a punt block. That's just inexcusable.
So, all right. Well, Arizona's coming to Folsom Field this Saturday, 5 p.m. kick. Thank the Lord for a reasonable time for this one to kick off. William, I always appreciate you, and we'll see. Maybe we can get that full Derek Webb Colorado swag going on Sunday if the Buffs have a good performance there against the Wildcats.
I got all my cups.
Yeah, there they are.
And I got my Jordan Seaton shirt. I didn't want to wear it today, but
yeah, well, he's going to have a bounce back performance, and we can see Jordan Seaton on the podcast next week.
Well, the thing about it is, with good coaches, and I think that those three guys are fairly good coaches. You can sit down and watch the film, and you can teach things.
Yeah.
Like that first sack. That's a coordination problem because one of those two guys got to have that call.
Yeah. Well, let's move on and hope for brighter days with the Colorado Buffaloes football program. Thanks, everybody out there, for tuning in, and jump over to the morning run now. In case you haven't heard, CU Athletics is teaming up with Taco Bell this season, launching the first ever $7 Buffs box, which is available at participating Colorado Taco Bell locations. What's in the Buffs box? A lot of great stuff. You get 4 Taco Bell classics, a cheesy gordita crunch, a beefy 5-layer burrito, a Doritos Locos Tacos, cinnamon twists, and the meal comes with a signature Buffs collectible cup featuring either Julian Juju Lewis, Jordan Seaton, Draylon Miller, or Quentin Gibson. And this isn't just about the food. Every single CU touchdown this year means more than points. Taco Bell will donate $1,000 for every Buffs touchdown to the Golden Buffalo Scholarship Fund. Nothing better than crushing a Buffs box while watching the Buffs light up the scoreboard. Live Moss.